Okay, YouTube, tonight I need to make a thing, and this is a small part of the thing I have already made. This is a simple part. I won't bore you too much with this. There's a weld on the outside, which I'm sort of almost happy with. I've cleaned up the inside, the penetration was okay. I might grind off and polish up the weld on the outside, I'm not sure yet. I wanted to make it with the welds visible, but I'm trying to get my welds to the point where they're neat enough to be really visible. And that brings me on to the next point. This purpose of this video tonight is to pay tribute to one or two of the people that I've watched on YouTube and have been good enough to share their information and their knowledge and their skills with us over the years. And I thought, you know, having been in aircraft maintenance as long as I have, I need to make this thing out of aluminium, which will be this piece with a sort of a cone-shaped funnel on the bottom. I can nail it together with a few rivets and it would be fine, but it wouldn't look pretty. I wanted to do something slightly different, so I sort of started thinking, well, how would Ron Covell make this part? How would this old Tony make this part? How would Wray Schelin make this part? Because these are all amazingly skilled people that I've watched for a long time, and I thought maybe I ought to just glean something from and use, you know, put some of it into practice. So here we go. As we go, I'll explain a little, and this video is really a thank you in some ways to all the people whose channels I've watched over the years, and I hope they've been able to get some of their information into my dumb brain, and I might be able to get some of it out and use it. So sit back, enjoy, keep watching. Right, first person I want to mention, rachelineproshaper.com. Check them out if you want to learn about English wheeling, panel beating, making almost anything from metal. It's a really good resource there. Welding, all sorts on the channel. Some incredibly complex pieces made, and they run courses as well if you're in the area. So that's a good one to check out. And I'm just finessing this panel here. I don't have many metalworking tools, but I've got an old gas cylinder and a dead blow hammer, and I'm using the principle that Ray often mentions of lever and fulcrum. The you know, just to get this thing round. I didn't use rolls, I didn't use any fancy tools on this, just my hands and a hammer, because like Ray would say at the end of all his videos,
metal is clay, anything's possible. Thank you.
Right, next person I want to shout out, and this is a big one, is Jody at weldingtipsandtricks.com for all sorts of things. Probably I ended up getting a qualification because of Jody, and this is something I want you to notice. This is a tip that I picked up specifically from his website. My feed hand, how I feed the wire there to get enough wire into an aluminium puddle. That's a tip that I picked from Jody, and a great one. Take anything you want, a piece of welding rod home or a long stick of spaghetti, and sit watching TV at night and just practice feeding it like this with your hands until it's second nature. That will develop that motor skill and free up brain power to watch the weld puddle and think about other things. So that's a great tip. Right, this is another one from Jody, the aluminium skill drill. Get yourself a couple of plates, weld all the way from one side to the other and just stack beads in an intentional manner. Okay, I'm trying to just weld straight lines. Weld right from the edge of the plate to the other edge of the plate. That means you've got to start off being careful of the edge, nice and gentle with the foot pedal, and weld all the way across, and meaning when you get to the other end you have to back off the foot pedal. Keep a second plate so you can alternate the plates. When this one gets too hot you can change to the other one, because aluminium goes kind of grainy and loses its ripples when you get too hot. Okay, if you keep a second plate, once you get to the end of this line, or once you've done a couple of beads, you can flip the other plate while this one cools down, flip back. That way with aluminium you can get more or less continuous seat time. It's very cheap and it'll get you going and practicing and just becoming gradually a little bit neater. Alright, so there we go. I'm just alternating, flipping between plates, running beads, and the beauty of aluminium is, as long as you don't really get too hot, as long as you've got a couple of plates to alternate between, you can just weld and weld and weld. It doesn't get harder to weld, it doesn't get, you know, all horrible and oxidized, but some things you just keep going and going and going and going until gradually those motor skills come, and you will just find it gets easier and better, and you're not duffing the electrodes so often, and just works. Thanks, Jody. The next absolutely awesome channel you have to watch is This Old Tony, and This Old Tony taught me, if you reverse the polarity of your welder, as you can see clearly here, it sucks up the weld and converts it back into filler rod. That's just awesome. Thanks, Tony. Great tip. Alright, so what this is going to be is to go on the front of a coffee grinder here to replace the doser that was on this big grinder with a funnel. Now, I did a temporary job just with a cut down bottle to prove the point. That was about 4 years ago and it's getting scruffy now, so it's time to do something properly and it can make a good YouTube video, so let's do it. Coffee first though. I gotta have coffee in the morning. The sun's rising outside and I need to plan some Christmas business meetings like they have at number 10 Downing Street, I think. So let's get this thing torn down and start putting the new doser replacement funnel on. Making things is good sometimes. So we're going to mop one up in paper and just make sure I haven't missed any important documents in my scrap paper here. What's that one? HM Government. Recontractor supply PPE. Have as much money as you want. Don't worry about the audit process. As a generous contributor to party funds and close personal friend of Peppa Pig, will take care of everything for you. Yours faithfully. He signed it with a little trotter print. Oh. Oh, I missed out on something there. Never mind. Don't always get all the mail checked thoroughly. And right, let's mock up one with paper and just see how it goes. Alright, I've tucked my bit of scrap paper behind here. I'm just wondering if I want the coffee to land here. Just wondering if I can get this from a flat sheet and do a little trimming, sort of along this line here. Yeah, it's going to result in something like that. The beauty of working with scrap paper is you can finish it all later. You know what, we might get this. Alright, so there's my shape. There's my mark that I'm going to carefully cut to, but I'll need both hands. And then cut it down the middle. And it should unfurl into a flat shape that we can cut our piece from. there it is. I'm going to cut it down the middle here at the front, down the center line, and hope to align well, actually this will be pretty much on center when it's straightened up. Hope to align the weld with this weld here and weld around here. That's if it works. This bottom bit and this weld is where it's going to require a decent fit up to avoid, you know, going south very quickly, and a bit of care. So we'll get there. All right, so unfurled. That's the shape that's going to get me in the ballpark. Let's cut some metal and see what we can do. Right, I cut my metal roughly, and now I always leave a little bit and then go around with the snips, so that you're cutting off a thin bit, and that chip curls downwards. The chip distorts easily and leaves the bit that I want relatively undistorted. Now, these snips will cut straight, and they'll cut sort of around to the left like this with that chip curling downwards, and they don't distort the sheet too much. Ron Covell has a fantastic video on all the different types of snips, especially the aviation pro snips as they call them, and how to use them. Recommend that. Now I have left a bit of extra material on here, which I do on these one-off jobs, because, you know, when I was brought up in work, it was, you know, measure accurately, measure twice, cut once, cut to your line, make your tools work for you, not the other way around. With these little one-off design on the fly jobs, it's better to waste a little time trimming after the fact when you know you can trim, than it is to cut the part too small and have to start again. So there we are. I don't have snips that will cut around a small inside radius like this, so I was over to the bandsaw for the old series of ever decreasing sharp tooth cut things. Doesn't take many minutes. Right, I've had a very slight change of plan on how I'm going to form this, just because it's fun to do it like this, and I think I might kind of like the look, the slightly industrial look of the folded lines. So I've marked the long and the short edge of the cone, if you like, with an equal number, not equal spacing, an equal number of marks at convenient intervals. Drawn lines between them, which I'll show you in a minute, and I'm just moving it out of the bender to each line, putting a small fold in it, just tweaking it as I go. And this is sometimes a very quick way to form a conical shape. It has a series of flat facets on it, but in this instance I think I don't mind that. I might be proved wrong later. We'll see. I think I'm going to quite like the look of it, so we'll see. Alright, there's the lines of scribe I marked on the inside, and I think when I squeeze this together, I think it's going to work. As I said, I've left a bit of excess material. It's going to need a bit of trimming, but I think we're in the ballpark. Didn't like the look of this weld much. I took a quick trip to the bead blaster and gave it a blast. Actually, it's sound enough, but it's going to reinforce my decision. We're going to dress and polish these welds out Wray Schelin style, so that there'll be no filler needed. They should be invisible, and the whole thing afterwards will just need a coat of primer and paint. Wish me luck. Alright, I've been at it with an 80 grit wheel on a grinder very carefully, and luckily, because we don't seem to have a lot of undercut, I'm going to come in here really carefully. I overfilled the weld a bit and we don't have porosity. I think it's going to clean up okay, so I'll carry on with that for a few minutes, see how it goes. Right, you've got to be careful here and look frequently at what you're doing. Some of these discs cut other than on the edge, and as they wear they can cut behind where you think they're cutting, so keep watching. Right, I'm going to use some Sharpie now to look for my lows. I'm going to glue it up, run the orbital over it. See, I think I've got some lows in there. which if I don't want to thin out the material too much to get rid of them, I need to just blend the back of the weld down and tap them up very slightly so that that little low is probably a few thou of undercut. I wouldn't normally worry about it, but the principle of the thing, I've watched Wray Schelin do it, I want to do it the way he does it. All right, bring you back in a second. All right, so that has revealed slightly there and a tiny bit. It seems like I undercut the weld, or maybe not, maybe that's just how it is. Maybe the weld's a bit thick there, but anyway, I'm going to blend the back of it with a little burr on the die grinder or the drill to flatten the back, and I'm just going to dress up those little low spots somehow, and we'll give it another go, another work, and see how it goes. Alright, dressing the back of the weld down in this thing. Started off with a little burr on a die grinder, and now I'm just finishing up with a resi weld. That's coming. Probably would have been better off to avoid full penetration and fusion weld this side if I knew I was gonna dress it, but I didn't know I was gonna do that at the beginning. Let's beat on it a little bit and see if we can get rid of these focus. See if we can get rid of these blue lines here. I think I got a plan for that. I've polished up a little brass hammer on a belt sander. I'm just going to see if I can take the highs down and bring up the lows by working it over a bit of stout plastic. I'm hoping that'll work. Right, so 120 grit. Trying to just preserve these flat surfaces just a little bit. Rather not knock down these high spots too much. Should have got rid of the 80 grit marks. Let's go for the 240. I think the final stage is going to be 320 by hand. I'll get you where you can see that a bit better. So I don't know if you can see what I can see here, but as you improve the surface quality, you start to reveal some highs and lows. I had a high spot still on the center of the weld there. Quite good around the top here. I've preserved these little lines. I've got some tiny lows in there. Work on them later. But I still had a high spot on the weld sort of bead there, so I'll just tap that down with the hammer. I'll carry on polishing. I might just go back up to 240 there and then 320. So if we can't lose the vast majority of that, and then we'll Scotch Brite it and give it a look at. All right, something else that happens as you refine the surface finish is that you actually reveal the weld nugget itself, the weld material. But I have pretty much got rid of my highs and lows. I am going to do a little more work on that. You can see a dent there where the bright light is. I'm going to bring that up at some point, but the next thing I'm going to do, because I'm not terribly unhappy with this part so far, is trim the top line. So we'll take it to the machine, I think, and mark and trim this top line. That is actually, I left a bit of excess material there. It's probably wasted a bit of time in trimming after the fact, but it's an easy trim. It's better than getting it too short, having a gap and having to start again. Right, I think what I need to do next. Certainly, I think I'm going to be happy with this. But what I got to do next is get this here thing in position, pushed up tight, centered, centered. That'll go in there, yeah. Centered, like so. And scribe a line around the inside here to cut. But it is getting late and this video has gotten long enough. I need a little bent 90-degree scriber to get round there. So what I'm going to do tonight, the video's gotten long enough. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 2 because I think this is going to turn out okay actually. I'm committed now to dressing all of these welds and making a nice job of it, and priming and painting it. I'm going for metallic silver, same as the grinder. Thanks for watching, good night.